If you want to hear about St. Louis, tune into the Bucket List Show weekly. Hear what Marissa and Luke say. It drops every Wednesday. Got a dope new guest every single week. Buckle up for the ride. Who's it gonna be? Who's on the show today? They rep St. Louis. What to do in the loo on a late night, or maybe what to do on a date night. Yeah, Bucket List has you covered. They know what's going on. What's going on? They'll give you, hey, 18 different things to do, or 19 if you need one more to choose. Yeah, this city is a place we call home. A place we call home. Yeah.
What's up, St. Louis? Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the STL Bucket List Show. I'm your host, Marissa Farrell.
And I'm your other host, Luke Farrell. And we couldn't do this show without my guy, Matt, in the back on the ones and twos at Half Coast Studios. Guys, they're the leading podcast studio right here in St. Louis. They cut, edit, put our podcast up on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, pretty much everywhere. We're omnipresent this year. So other than that, guys, the Regional Arts Commission of St. Louis is our large public funder. They allow us to do this podcast, and they're a public funder of the arts. So when you support art, you support St. Louis.
That's right. All right. So today we have a special episode. Zach Conley from Una Vida. How are you?
Good. Thank you guys for having me. I know we've been trying to do this for a while now, so
yeah,
excited to get it going.
It's been a while. I think we definitely reached out when we started. So we've been doing this almost for a year. This is episode 49.
Wow.
So every week, that was the biggest thing with me is like, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it every week.
Yeah.
Be consistent. But yeah, we reached out. I reached out to you, Bryce, Oliver, because I was like, man, I want to get some Una Vida on there. Right. I want to drink some Una Vida on the pod. And now we're doing dry January. So I'm like, man, I'm not even drinking right now. But we're looking at it. We're looking at the bottles. So it's cool enough. But yeah, we want to start it off by, telling us a little bit about your upbringing. Every entrepreneur has a different story, but just kind of tell us where you're from. Tell us about parents growing up and kind of get a little insight on people that they might not
absolutely.
know.
So I'm from Fullest, Missouri. Most people don't know, but you guys do. It's outside of Wentzville.
Yeah,
it's the next exit. It's the next exit after. I believe when I was growing up there, it was a population of 301. Now it's up to like 500. So it's growing.
It's starting to boom around there, though. There's starting
Wright
to be
City, Warrenton.
Yeah, a lot of people are
area.
moving there.
Yeah.
Lots of people are buying land out that way and building. So
absolutely. I mean,
shout out St. Charles County. You're at the very edge of St. Charles County.
Yep. Literally, the next exit is Wright City, is Warren County.
Yep.
So yeah, it was a little no man's land. Grew up there. I'm the oldest of four. I got two younger brothers, a younger sister. Really normal upbringing, really. Mom's a GM of McDonald's in Wright City. Best. She's been there for probably 15 years. Dad, odd relationship, kind of in and out of the life. But, I mean, a lot of people have single parent homes, so that's kind of how we grew up.
Yeah.
Was playing dad for a long time. So.
Nice. As the oldest, you were?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're a leader by nature.
I think more forced.
Yeah. You grow into the role eventually.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's cool. I think that, growing up in like that area and then like running a business in the city, like obviously you run the business everywhere, but like living the city life is probably like so much different than like your friends growing up. You're like, man, you're like traveling all over the place,
Well, and obviously in booze, as soon as I graduated high school, I went to college at Culver Stockton, which if anybody knows, it's Canton, Missouri.
Help me out.
Is that Hannibal? Is that in Hannibal?
It's 2 hours north of Hannibal.
Oh, okay.
So you're talking, they only have a Subway.
Okay.
And like a barbecue joint.
So it's like a lake town, basically. It's like when you go to Lake of the Ozarks and there's a Dollar General and a Subway.
Yeah, but they don't have any bars.
Oh,
like there was one place, and the population, I think, tripled when school was in session.
Okay.
So I went there for football, played there, but then immediately after, I moved to Denver.
Okay.
How long were you in school before you moved? Like a semester?
No, I did 4 years.
Oh, okay,
I got
gotcha.
my business degree from Culver Stockton, and then moved immediately to Denver. So I didn't get to really experience bar and nightlife in St. Louis till I moved back from Denver when I was 28. And that's kind of when we started Una Vida.
Okay. So you were in Denver for like what, another 4 years?
5 years.
5 years of
5
life?
years, yeah.
Wow. So you really didn't get we lived here, so we kind of like when we turned 21 out in St. Louis, we got to experience Ballpark Village and all these things.
I didn't do any of that.
And we're 27 now, so how old are you now then?
32.
32.
Yeah.
So you're just 4 years older
Right
than us.
there.
Yeah. So that's cool. That's what I wanted to kind of lead into. So like before the alcohol business, like you got your business degree, was booze always what you wanted to get into, or is that you just fell into that world?
No, not at all. So my grandpa was a hell of an entrepreneur. Built a Conley equipment company, which they just sold recently, but it was industrial batteries and power plants. And I thought, because I was the first one to go to college on my side of the family, so I was like, oh, I'm going to go work for the family business.
Right.
That was my entire, like, I'm going to get my business degree. I'm doing that. And I was super excited. And about a year in, I was like, I can't do this. Like, this is awful.
Yeah.
Are we
Was
allowed
there
to
just
swear
a
on
la-
this?
you
you can
can
swear.
say
Okay,
whatever.
absolutely.
Was there
Absolutely.
just
What
like
the
a-
fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
Like, I
Yeah.
couldn't.
I should have told you that at the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is unfiltered.
Was there
pod.
like a lack of passion, or is it just like you're like, this is just not?
It
my-
was a
my
lack of
speed.
passion, right? I mean, and I was handling some project management stuff, and it is it seems boring, but like they are the batteries and power plants that make sure that 911 lines don't go down. So if there's an outage, they're supplying the backup power that keeps them running.
Right.
So it's an important job. So you could find fulfillment in it. I couldn't.
And boring business is usually successful too.
Oh, very.
Like some of
Very.
the best businesses in the world are boring business.
Yeah.
You know.
Absolutely. And so, I mean, we might as well just get into the tequila side of things. So at that point, I was living in Denver. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was 23. I was like, my whole life, I was moving to Denver to work for this company to hopefully do something with it someday.
Okay.
And I was already done a year in. I'm like, oh, this is awful. So there's a place in Denver called 16th Street Mall. And it's a outdoor, indoor mall area where they've got Coyote Ugly. They've got all these great restaurants. One of the restaurants is Tres Agaves. It was a Mexican joint on the second floor. And we would always go there for like happy hours. I was fresh out of school. Wasn't a tequila drinker because at that time it was
Well, you barely drank really
barely
at
drank.
that point.
So, and there was this guy, this older man doing a tasting there. And it was some of the best tequila I'd ever had. And so that's kind of where I got into, wow. Picked
like
his
this.
brain, talked to him like, the packaging was beautiful. Holy cow, this is amazing. And I would talk to him every time we'd go there and he'd be there. Just picking his brain, asking little questions. You know, when I found out he was the owner of the brand, he lived in the apartment complexes, learning about tequila, and finally was like, can I do some tastings? Oh, okay, yeah. I was doing all this for free, just volunteering.
Because you were interested.
Yeah, I was interested in it.
Passion. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how my introductory to the alcohol business
Did
got
you
going.
work for him?
Eventually I did, yeah. I was his first employee.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
So I ended up finally I was like, hey, so the way the alcohol works is you usually have a distributor, right? So you can't sell directly to a consumer. You have to sell to a licensed distributor. Distributor sells to bars, restaurants, liquor stores. And if you go with a distributor too small, they don't service the accounts you want to be in. If you go with a distributor too big, you're just another SKU in a portfolio of tens of thousands of products.
Right.
So there's a fine line. He was only in the city of Denver at the time. And I was like, hey, if I find you a distributor, would you bring me on full time? He's like, yeah, do you know someone? I said, yeah, absolutely. I didn't know anybody. I just picked up the phone and started calling distributors. And at the end of the day, I'd be like, worst case scenario, you're getting 3 free bottles of tequila I love and I believe in.
For a meeting, to take a meeting.
For a meeting, yeah.
Okay.
And then so finally there was a distributor in Kansas City that brought it on. Sold it there, and then I helped grow that business for 5 years. From 1 city into 5 states, had about 6 people underneath me, was rocking and rolling. That's how I met Bryce. Bryce was working for a Bloody Mary mix company at the time. And so we would do events together where we do Bloody Maria recipes and all kinds of stuff.
Okay.
Love a Bloody Maria.
Yeah, it's the best.
Love
It is the
everything bloody.
best.
Everything bloody. And I kind of grew to like tequila too. Like I was drinking it a lot, you know, just from like our trips, like our international trips. I'm like, I just love like something about tequila and sunshine.
I think you like picked it up when we went to Mexico for the first time back in like 20.
And that guy was giving us tastings and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know why it
learned to
tastes better in
appreciate
Mexico?
it.
Why is
Go
it?
ahead, tell us.
So in the United States, to be hard alcohol, it has to have a minimum of 40% ABV. They don't have those rules in Mexico. So the Patron you have here is 40%. The Patron you have down there is anywhere between 35 to 38%. 5% less alcohol makes it way more smooth.
Okay.
So and everyone's like,
makes
oh, the
sense.
tequila's so much better in Mexico. I'm like, well,
It's a little bit less strong.
yes,
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's probably just sweeter. It just probably goes like,
absolutely.
you've had some like, you know,
Yeah, it goes
Azul
down
and all
way
these really
easier.
smooth tequilas and stuff like that. I like got an Azul shot like at Nixta that one time when I was like $40. It was like the black Azul.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, I will never spend that much for a shot again, but it was cool. It was fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's fine. You do everything once. But so yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about Bryce because you know, I don't think I've ever met Bryce, but I do follow him on. Yeah, I do follow him on social, but
Okay.
I might have maybe like at an event that you guys were doing, but like never like, you know, talked to him at all really. Just kind of you and the crew over there. But so you guys met. So you guys were both working at
For different brands.
alcohol brands or
In
like
Kansas City is when you met.
Denver.
Okay.
Okay.
Got it.
Yeah.
And then you guys met in Denver. Is he from Missouri too?
He
or-
is from Wichita.
Okay, so he's from Kansas. Yeah. So tell us about that relationship of that moment that you guys decided like, hey, we should probably just do this on our own.
I'll never forget it. He called me one day, and I had quit
Oh,
the brand I had worked for. I was 5 years in. So I had no idea how to raise money. I was going to try to buy it. Didn't know what I was doing. It was 2017. George Clooney sold Casamigos for $1 billion.
Yeah.
This guy looked at me and said, I can't give up any equity right now. I don't.
Because he was looking at that $1 billion number.
Like, you're not fucking George Clooney.
Yeah, you're not George Clooney.
So I was like, all right, I'm going to do my own thing. So Bryce had called me and said, hey, can we have lunch? And we sat, it was Twin Peaks off of Arapahoe Road. We were there for the scenic views. And he's like, hey, are you guys hiring? I quit the Bloody Mary company. I was like, yeah, funny enough, I just quit the brand I was working for. And he's like, what are you going to do? I was like, I think I want to start my own. I said, really? And so we just hit it off from there. And he said he's in.
Yeah.
Like, no questions asked. All right, let's do it. Took out my first credit card. Sounds cool. I'm still paying it off, but it's getting there. But I mean, that's what that first credit card, where we got our LLC paperwork, all that stuff.
Yeah.
It was when I found out Mexico doesn't do payment terms and credit card, is when we had to find some investors that had cash that we couldn't,
Yeah.
they wouldn't let you pay for a pallet of tequila on credit card. I was like, why the hell not? It's got a limit on it.
Right.
But, so yeah, that's how we met. And at the time, man, we had no idea we were going to come to St. Louis to do the brand. I had an idea just because I wanted to come back home. I'm from here. I was like, if we're going to do this, let's do it. And that's kind of a funny story about formerly Major Brands, now Breakthrough Beverage. The brand I was working for at the time, they said no to distribution-wise. I was like, oh, okay. And I had talked to them throughout, kept contact with them, just distributors. You guys are running the same industry. And finally, when I told them, hey, I'm starting my own brand and I'm moving home, and this is going to be a Missouri-owned brand, what do you guys think? And they said, absolutely. So that's how we got that door, and was just staying in contact with people. So that was cool.
Yeah, Major Brands. That's right over there in like, is that Maplewood or Shrewsbury, or is it's in St. Louis City, but it's like right under that bridge there. They got a big
it's right
warehouse.
off of, right by Hampton. It's the old ammunition factory or something weird.
They do a good job.
Yeah.
They have like a lot of the best brands.
Now they're not Major Brands anymore.
Yeah, it's
They're
Breakthrough.
Yeah,
It's like
so
a
they're,
nationwide thing.
yeah, they're big boys now.
When you stepped out on your own, did
Yeah.
you know, like, I'm going to do tequila as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You're like, at this point, I've
It's what I
been
know.
doing it for 5 years. Yeah. Okay.
I had the contacts, and so tequila's a origin of denomination spirit, which basically means it has to be made in a specific region to have the title tequila. Tequila has to be made specifically in Jalisco, Mexico, and then there's 5 bordering counties and a few other states that you can make it. So I'd been down there plenty. I knew the distilleries. I knew label guys, cork guy, box guys. I had still had relationships with distributors, so I was like, I stick with what I know.
Right. So why do, this is like an off question, but why do celebrities always do tequila? It just seems like as of late.
Because it's hot right now.
It's just because it's a hot
It's hot
product.
right now.
Okay. I didn't know if there was like a certain reason of like, is it easier entry than other liquors? Because I would
No.
figure that vodka would be the easiest. to do.
Vodka is.
Yeah.
By far. The reason I love tequila is, we only have 2 products up here, but it is the only category that can bring drinkers from other categories together, all of them. So if somebody loves whiskey but hates vodka, they'll never drink vodka. I can get them to drink tequila.
Yeah.
Vodka drinkers that hate whiskey will never drink whiskey. I can get vodka drinkers to drink tequila.
It's like a middle part.
Yes,
Middle medium.
because we have everything from unaged, which you can get your more floral notes that can get vodka gin drinkers. They're going to be smoother. And we've got stuff that's aged 3.5 years in a used whiskey barrel
Yeah.
that it can bring everybody together. And it's
I've
the only
tried that
spirit
one
that
too.
does it.
And then this is the El Trago here.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you guys got to get that mezcal though.
I know.
I've been messaging him about that.
Wow.
I was like, when you guys dropping
We
the
love
mezcal?
our mezcal. Yeah.
And
You have a favorite?
Mezcal cocktails are my favorite. I don't sip mezcal, so I just
Brand.
Vita. Vita is the green bottle. It's just the classic one. It's I think every bar carries Vita. Like a lot of bars
They've
have
got
Vita.
They've got a hell of a lineup though too. They've got a few ones.
They're old. Like it looks like a olive oil container. It's not pretty by any means, but like it's
Mezcal's
the best.
messy.
Yeah.
It's very. It's messy. It's traditional. It's I mean, Bozal is one of my favorites, and they come in like clay pot bottles. And I mean, even some
crazy.
of the distilleries down there. I mean, they're still using like clay runoffs. Like it's
real.
old school.
Yeah.
It's old school.
So I know you don't have mezcal, but do you want to explain to listeners the difference between mezcal and tequila?
Yes. So two of the biggest differences is tequila can only be made. So there's about 200 species of agave plants. Tequila can only be made with one, and that's the Blue Weber agave. Mezcal can be made with, I believe it's up to 15 different types of agave. But another big difference is the mezcal cooking methods. They dig like big pits in the ground and smoke it for days, the agave, where our cooking process takes 72 hours, but sometimes they'll cook the agave for weeks, and that's where you're gonna get that super heavy smoky flavor.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. That's what I love about it. Everybody just
smoke.
loves the smoke.
You either
flavor.
love it or you hate it.
Yeah.
So
Totally.
peatiness is what I get from it. So you get a lot of Scotch drinkers that like mezcal because you get that same smoke flavor.
Chest, like the burn in the chest.
Yeah.
And that's why I like mocktails. Like there's some like, zero proof companies and you just can never get that same. I just think it's really difficult to get that same feeling.
It's very.
And they're
difficult.
trying. They're doing a
trying,
good job with
yeah.
it. And
Some of them.
Yeah, they're definitely trying. So you met Bryce, you guys started this company.
Yeah.
That was 2017, 18, like right around that time.
Yeah.
So you put a bunch, like just like every entrepreneurial story, like you racked up some debt to try to get everything going. Was it Una Vida the name, like right off the bat?
Not off the bat, no.
Okay. Because I love the branding. Like your guys' branding's on point. So I didn't know if any of
I
you guys
do
had
love
like a
it.
branding background or if that was something
No.
you paid for.
Bryce was self-taught on Illustrator, Photoshop, all while we were trying to get this thing going.
Okay.
The original name was Nueva Vida, which meant new life.
Okay.
So obviously we had an idea of where we wanted to go with the branding, and Brian Teach from First Form was actually the one that came up with Una Vida.
Okay.
It's easier to say.
Yeah.
It's less syllables. White people drink tequila.
Yeah,
You gotta
it's
be
more
able to
approachable.
freaking-
That's
you
what I
gotta
was
be-
gonna
You gotta be able to say it at a bar, right?
Absolutely.
Like
You
it
got to
was
be able
gonna
to order it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And if you're embarrassed or don't think you're going to pronounce it right, you
might
may
not
say,
order it.
fuck it.
Yeah.
Patron. Exactly.
Sure, sure.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
So what's Una Vida stand for?
One life.
One life. Got
Yep.
it. Okay.
So more life, one life.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
So one life, and then I saw some stuff about you guys like finally came up with your core values.
Yeah. That was
know.
just now.
Okay, that was just
That was just
Like just
recently.
recent.
yeah. So
Okay.
one life is like obviously a part of your core values, but if you want to just explain, you don't have to go in depth with them, but like just tell people like what the brand means and like a little bit about what your guys' core beliefs are as a company.
Oh, absolutely. So for us, we are very much a push the limits, like trying to become the best version of yourself. We're your one life. That's all you've got. And it's the saying used to be one life, one tequila, but then we got in some trouble for that. But no, one life, that's all you have. You live it with purpose, live it with helping others. And then most importantly, enjoy your time with people, community, and have a good drink while you're doing it.
Love that.
Simple and perfect.
Right.
Yeah, I love your guys' branding. Like you guys do a really good job. And that's what's like really crazy because usually when you have business partners, like one of them's marketing, one of them's like connections, but you guys just kind of like we're in the same, like you guys were either not fully
There's
fulfilled
a
at what you
lot
were
of
doing.
things internally we're very different on.
Yeah. Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
That-
like as far as like Photoshop, Illustrator, email marketing,
Okay.
all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like that's all Bryce.
and then bringing in people to do those jobs that you
Yeah,
guys aren't good
absolutely.
at. Because like right now, like from what I see from the outside is like you are in that networking stage and that, not shaking hands and kissing babies, but like you're out there like in the field, you're getting dirty, you're getting your hands dirty, you're going to Mexico and stuff like that. So
What's that like when you're going on your trips to?
it seems dope, dude. It seems like,
And
it
how
seems dope.
often do you get to do that? Like,
We go about once a quarter.
okay.
And I will say this, our guys down there, Alejandro Medina I worked with him before I started Una Vida. So like he's been my eyes and ears partner for a long time.
Okay.
And you can absolutely get taken advantage of being a white dude trying to start a tequila company.
Absolutely.
Just price doubles on almost everything.
Right.
So he's taken great care of us. He's He was Gallo trained. He's been in the tequila industry for 20 plus years, built some very, very important brands you see on shelves. Yeah. But I mean, as long as you have good people, it's fun.
So that relationship, just going down there, that's really cool to actually like go down there, because a lot of these like celebrity brands probably have never even been to these places.
Bro, I know of one instance that 100% for a fact their logo was photoshopped on top of a brick building.
Yeah.
And they were taking photos, and it was completely free. You could see it.
Yeah.
I was like, come on, guys.
You're like, just go down there.
I'm not a trained eye, and I can see it.
Yeah.
That's funny, because like you'll see them in the field with the hat on or something like that. Yeah. They're always in the field.
Your ass is not in the field.
No.
Get up out of the field. So how hard is that? Because I'm an entrepreneur as well, but like it's a way different business. Like we're in business to business marketing, where you have to not only build your business and make sure that your product's good, but then you also have to let people know you even have a product. So tell us about the struggles of 2018. I mean, now we're looking at 5 years in business, but like give us a little like brief, like maybe like talk about not failures, but like talk about some of those ups and downs over the last 5 years.
Oh, that's a loaded question. I mean, it is all encompassing, right? So my mornings are, manufacturing product development calls. Like how's our label inventory? How's our bottle inventory?
Right.
Calls of, manufacturing, scheduling. A lot of people don't know this, but there's probably 2,200 tequila brands registered, but only 215 distilleries. It is very rare for a tequila to have its own distillery.
Okay.
So you're trying to get in line on production calls, production scheduling, like, okay, trying to forecast sales to do all that. On top of afternoons out in the market trying to sell, right? So you got to spend the mornings trying to figure out how you're going to make it, and then the afternoons selling it. I would say some downs. I mean, for us, man, it has been 2 years of our business was COVID. So there's a big down.
Right.
And our primary, so it's divided into two types, on-premise and off-premise. On-premise is bars and restaurants. You drink the product on-premise. Off-premise is your liquor stores. 80% of our business was then on-premise. We believe that bars and restaurants build the brands. Somebody's more likely to try a $7 shot than buy a $40 bottle. But if they try that $7 shot and fall in love with it, then they go to the liquor store and buy it. Right. It's a long game, but that's what we're in it for.
Especially if you're one of the only few options on a menu.
Right, exactly. So, learning those lessons really was hard, but I mean, it's so much, make a friend, make a sale. I don't care what industry is. If you're good to people, you take care of them, the quality of your product's good, the price point makes sense, and you find a way to partner with them to make sure it moves. Yeah. It's a no-brainer. Yeah. And I will say this, I got to learn a lot of my shitty lessons working for somebody else.
That's true.
I had a much better game plan coming into Una Vida than I did.
You were 5 years ahead. You were
already
5, and you were pretty much an
especially on the Mexico side of things. So the manufacturing, the labels, all that stuff, I had a pretty good background in that when it came time to this, like I will say this, we weren't sold in the Missouri market, so the Missouri market was new, even though it was our home base.
Right.
But that's what's great about St. Louis is like, oh, it's St. Louis own. It could taste like dog shit, and somebody's going to at least give it a try.
Absolutely.
Maybe keep it on the back bar. Hey, it's a local
here.
brand.
Yeah,
but as long as you make a good product, you're really good.
And you guys have done an incredible job, like at least, and I only see St. Louis, but like you guys, everybody knows you here, and that's hard to do. Like there's some other brands here that are doing pretty good work, but like for some reason with your marketing, you guys didn't go for people that go to bars. You went to the bartenders.
Yes.
So you brought the products to bartenders, gave them gear,
They're the best salespeople we have.
Yeah, tell us about that decision to do that. Was that something you did before, or was it?
No, it was something kind of how I realized I was being at bars, growing the brand, became friends with all the bartenders. Like all my bartenders are friends. Like when things like 12 bars and these big events happen, I'm like, oh, we're gonna do a party bus. Who am I gonna invite? Like, oh shit, everyone's working. But I mean. And then it started to click was the amount of human interactions they have with somebody that's asking them a recommendation on something I can never repeat. Yeah. So imagine how many times you guys go to a bar and say, hey, what do you recommend?
Right. All the time.
Whether it's food, whether it's a drink. Yeah.
Every time.
And especially if somebody asks for tequila and if that bartender recommends us, we're good. I will say this, we will pride ourselves on taking the best care of bartenders. No matter what the city is, those people are like the lifeblood to our brand. Absolutely.
You highlight them on social. You go out and do videos for them.
Absolutely.
Provide
Content's free for them. All of our photo shoots for apparel will feature bartenders.
Yeah.
We do a monthly cocktail feature every Tuesday, Tequila Tuesday. We do a bartender, different bartender every month.
And that's videos that they can use. But then what they're doing is, and it's smart, we do the same thing. Like you feature somebody and they share it.
Yeah,
Of course they're going to share it. Why would you not share
everyone
a professional?
Everyone looks cool on fucking Instagram.
Yeah.
And it's real and it's authentic and it's real people who know the product.
That's smart because we did our party and you've sponsored 2 of our parties that we've done. And just like on a text, like, hey, like come through, sponsor the party. But the cool thing was about it is like all the bartenders wearing the shirts.
Yeah.
So like that cost you money, obviously. But in that form of sponsorship, like 200 people that live here that are business owners that are seeing that, they're like, well, what's going on? Is that Una Vida? They're everywhere. They're omnipresent. You shared something that I like been using as well, being omnipresent, like being everywhere all at once. And that's what we're trying to do with our brand is like, not only do we do the podcast,
a big word.
Yeah, it's huge, but like we're everywhere. Like in the last 3 years, like people know what STL Bucket List is, and we're non-biased. We're independent media, and people need that. People need people that are like, oh, okay, it's a magazine. Well, it's going to cost you $2,500 to get featured on our magazine. It's like that's a business. I get that, but we want to feature everybody, and like we started featuring you guys' stuff.
Well, and I think that's attributing to your success, right? You went at it a different way.
Yeah.
Like, forget it. We're just going to highlight St. Louis.
Yep.
Right?
Positive stuff only.
And
Positive stuff.
yeah.
Right.
Nothing negative.
Nothing
Correct me, and I know this is about Una Vida, but I mean, you starting that was the goal, right? Like, I love my city. I'm going to highlight it. I'm going to highlight the people. I'm going to highlight the restaurants. I'm going to highlight the bars. And did you know it was going to grow into this?
Nope.
Right.
It was just for us. It was a blog
Absolutely.
for us. It was just like a little blog.
Right.
Just like everybody has like a foodie blog or like, not everybody, but a lot of people just like post their stuff that they're eating. We just decided to do it. But what we did is we removed ourselves from it. Like, and that's the biggest thing. I try to like think of these influencers and all these people, like remove yourself and provide value. Like you guys, it's not like your page isn't you and Bryce. It could be like, if it was your brand, it'd be like, hey, like look at us.
We're starting to do that a little more.
And you want
because
to do it
I think we don't do it at all.
You don't do it
and
at
I
all.
think it's
like nobody even probably knows.
Well, people like want to see, like, so like if we
People
do
buy
go
from
out,
people.
hey, like exactly.
Yes.
We know who you are a little
people
bit.
buy from people. Like, it's funny, like we'll do a hat ad on Una Vida's page. Then I'll throw it in my story. Bryce throws it in his story. On a different day. We get more buys through our personal stuff than we do the page. People buy from people.
And your page has twice as many followers as all. Like, and that's true because
they
is
want a
actually
face.
Really true.
So then once we started realizing that, you'll see we're starting to post more a little bit more on Una Vida's page with us, telling the story a little bit.
And I think we've gotten to the point like where we like we're known on there, so now it's at a point where like you can back up a little bit more, which exactly. Right. So that's kind of the perks of doing it that way. But like saying like with some of the other accounts that you look at, it's like, hi, it's me. Here's my face. Here's
I see every day.
My view. It's like, okay, we like
just got a second here. Yeah. But just hopping on.
But it's at a restaurant.
On here every hour.
Every hour you're on here. We see you.
But it's at a restaurant. It's like, honestly, like I just want to see the food. That's the value, or that's the value.
That's the premise of the post.
You guys did this was a long time ago when I first found out about you, and I think it's in your story highlights still, but like you did like a tour of you guys walking around your distillery that you work with. Like that type of stuff is the content that I like to see. I like to see like, I want not that it justifies the cost, like your cost is what it is, but like if you're seeing the process of everything, then you're like, oh, and it's local. And these two, like I know these guys, like why would I not buy this product?
Right.
And that's the biggest thing. And between that and the bartenders just selling it, every drink, every restaurant that we go to for the most part has like one drink that has like
there's still a lot of room to grow.
There's a lot of room to grow. There's some that don't where I'm like, man, that would be really good. And I'm sure you've already shot your shot at everything. Like you get at this time, like everybody, you've shot your shot.
Well, there's still like
some big ones.
I'm really excited. We just got Katie's Pizza and Pasta.
Oh yeah,
that's a big one. Katie was amazing. I'm excited to work with them. I've got staff trainings this week, but that's a big St. Louis brand that we're very excited to partner with. Yeah.
And they're going to do a lot of drinks at Ballpark Village.
Oh yeah, we've got some very exciting things for that.
That's awesome. I did see that you put a picture up about that. That was cool.
And the not rehearsal dinner space, but the like
event space.
Yes.
Yeah. So just doing that, and then Ballpark Village is like one of that's
a monster.
Yeah, that's a monster.
Great
account.
partnership.
And
those guys are great.
They don't have that much other tequila there. I don't think
they don't. They shouldn't.
Yeah, they don't think. Yeah, because it doesn't sell.
Right.
But so like stuff like that, and then like going at it as like a holistic approach of like, let's just go to these bartenders, let's do this, let's create this content. It's just inspiring, and I mean, your content
wants to do it.
Yeah,
that's the problem. That's not the problem.
Yeah,
I know we were talking about entrepreneurship and podcasts because I said I don't like doing them.
Right.
Here I am on a podcast saying that. But no one wants to do that work. Mm-hmm. That's, everyone wants to talk about, oh my gosh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, or bitching on Instagram. It seems like we're everywhere, but it has been 5 years of legitimately going meetings every day, sampling 2 ounces at a time, meeting bar managers, you do that enough, and that's says it bottle by bottle.
Yeah.
For us, we're just growing this thing 1 bottle at a time, 1 customer at a time.
Right.
And now that has morphed into nowhere where we got a long way to go, but I mean,
right.
In St. Louis, that has morphed into what it is now. Mm-hmm. Is you feel like we're everywhere. We're not. There's still a lot of room, but
we're just here in St. Louis.
We're just tackling it a bottle at a time, right? That's all. That's the goal. 1 customer, 1 bottle at a time.
And you got to grow your team. You guys are expanding this year?
Yeah, we hired 2 people this year.
Nice. Yeah. Nice already.
Kansas City and Dallas.
Okay, so Dallas market. So like I said, like getting St. Louis, okay, like there's still 20 other cities that are bigger than St. Louis that you have to go to. And like Kansas City.
Is it really 20?
I think we're a top 20 city.
Okay, well, I didn't even know that.
Well, I know for the news, we're a media market. So for the media market, St. Louis is like a top 20 media market.
Okay.
But like there's a lot of cities that are growing faster. Charlotte, Austin, Dallas, like all these big cities that a lot of younger people are moving to.
What other cities do you distribute to?
So we're sold in Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas, shooting for Illinois and Arizona this year as well.
Wow.
And what about online? People can buy that anywhere?
We're getting ready to relaunch our online website.
Okay. It's not really cost effective to buy online because shipping is just crazy. Yeah, so
we're trying to bring some things in house, but it's a legal nightmare to ship alcohol across state lines. So we're trying to navigate it towards cost effective to consumers. But it's a pain.
Yeah. Yep.
Speaking of shipping, you guys are also known as the Tequila Fairies.
Yes.
So there was a pandemic. If people didn't remember about that, there was a time where things were closed, and you guys were probably like you probably like were questioning your business at that point. You're like, okay, what do we do? Just kept going on and on. But tell us about the Tequila Fairies. I saw a bunch of articles about it, but you guys were just giving bottles out to people all over the state.
So just like everybody, we're like, what the fuck are we gonna do?
Right.
Especially because, like I said, 85 at that point, probably 90% of our business was bars and restaurants. Mm-hmm. So that got cut out from under us.
Halted.
Yeah. We're like, fuck.
Yeah, you can go anywhere.
Right. We have a palette, our personal palette that we use for tastings, for all this stuff. And I had seen some of these bigger brands, write checks to Bartenders Guild, which I found out no one ever got a penny from. I'm like, a lot of this just seems real fake, skeezy and fake.
Yeah.
So it's like, what do we have? We've got a bunch of tequila. Okay. So I hopped on my Instagram story and said, hey, if you're a laid off bartender, it was really front of house, back of house. If you're a restaurant employee, send me your address. I'm going to bring you a bottle of tequila. Because I'm a workaholic, quite frankly. So being home, not with anything to do, I'm like, I got to do something.
Yeah.
And it went bananas. Yeah. Part of the problem was, not a problem, I think what made it snowball into what it was I would take a picture, because it was no contact, right?
Yeah.
So how did I let somebody know they were there if I didn't have their number? I had strangers DMing me their address that I would take a picture, tag them, and say thank you.
Yeah.
They would share it to their story. The business, and they're like, well, how'd you get a free bottle of tequila? Oh, if you're a bartender, you can. So then it just spiraled.
Was there like a proof thing of like, oh, I'm a bar? Like, I guess you.
No, I guess I just was hopeful people were
You're
good.
Like, where do you work? Show me your W-2s.
Yeah, no, I think we did ask where you work. I think we did.
And people aren't. It's not like $1 million. It's a bottle. So people are like just gonna go get the.
And so I think we ended up giving out, and then Bryce did it in his market. I think it was a total like 3,500 bottles. Wow. But I also really, really do believe that was a catalyst of coming out of COVID. What took us to the next level was now all these bartenders that heard all these brands writing checks, but never saw a penny, knew these little guys, took the time out and put a bottle with a thing. And I wrote handwritten thank you cards to each one that we put off.
Wow. That's inspiring.
Then they all went back to work. They're like, hey, that's actually what happened. That's how we got Ballpark Village.
Got into some places.
Michael Martina reached out to me and said, man, my bartenders are refusing to sell anything. They want your product in here. Let's get a deal done.
Mike, love Mike.
Oh,
Mike's a good dude.
He's great. And so that's kind of how that happened.
That's how that happened. You guys, instead of just trying to get a bunch of loans and PPPs or whatever. Like you just literally
gave away what we had.
You gave away that money with the uncertainty of knowing like, dude, so that for that, because that was in 2020.
Because we care about people, genuinely.
Right.
I can say that. Yeah. Like I care about the people we work with.
Well, yeah, that's what you are able to offer. Like that's huge. I mean, even like when I was working at Salt and Smoke, and they were like, "Here's food. Like if you work with us, come pick up your care package."
Toilet paper.
So
they gave us
it was huge.
Yeah.
We got like 2 rolls of toilet paper, like a little chicken, like all these great things. And I'm like, take care of your people because times are hard.
Because there are a lot of people that didn't.
Yeah.
I will say a lot of big, and I think those guys paid the price as well. It showed a lot of people's true colors, I think.
Yeah.
For sure.
Absolutely. And the ones that went out of business. And we had somebody on here that was talking about like the pandemic was like an easy way to go out. You're like, oh, we're just closing, because like people aren't taking away. But that's 3,500 bottles. That is crazy. Yeah. So that you just came up with that, and then everybody started to have all these news things like the tequila ferries, and you guys are just running around town with a bunch of bottles in your truck.
Well, and so no shit. That's exactly what it was. And it was funny because, it was like, what in the world happening? Like I'd wake up every morning and there'd be 100 new addresses in my inbox.
You're like, my demons never popped off like this.
No, not at all. And I'm like, okay. And so I would just tackle them one at a time. Like, but there was no method.
Yeah, there wasn't a map method of like
until I found a really cool app, some kind of like pizza delivery app that I could plug in the address and it would give me the best route.
Okay.
It saves so much time.
There you go.
Yeah, one at a time.
You're like, all right, I'm going.
So then when the media went bonkers on it was actually starting to calm down from my end. Bryce called me and said, hey, local news in Wichita wants to do a story on me. What do you think? I'm like, we've kind of played this thing.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. And so he did the story. Little we know, the little Wichita station was in the CNN like hopper of affiliates, right? And it went up. And all of a sudden, but here, we'll leave it to the fucking media, is no one really watched the video because it was for laid off bar and restaurant industry people in our markets. We saw headlines that said, if you've been laid off, you get a free bottle of tequila. So we saw, all of a sudden, our inbox started getting flooded through our website from the 6 o'clock news that started at the East Coast. Flooded, like, what is this? It was iron workers. It was union people. It was carpenters. It was plumbers. It was
anybody,
hair salon people.
And that's because the headline was wrong.
Yes.
Okay. And that just shows how those headlines.
Yes.
Yeah.
No one watched it, and I'm like, oh no, this is bad. It was like, we had to put a pop-up on our website, like, hey, if you're here for this, it has been misrepresented.
It's cut off.
Yeah. This is for that, but everyone was really, really cool about it. Like everyone got it.
Yeah,
that's good.
Well, that shows how.
But then Fox picked it up, and then so after that, I was like, bro, we've got to stop this. This is all.
We don't have
because the way I looked at it. Yeah, the bottles. But the way I looked at it is somebody's first impression of our brand is me telling them no.
Yeah,
you don't want that.
Yeah.
Like, even if we couldn't do it. Yeah. And then Fox called us, hey, you want to do a story? We're like, no, man, we got burned on this last one. It's like, you guys get to tell the story.
We're trying to recuperate.
Okay. Yeah, we're trying to figure out, all these people have a negative feeling about our brand. Thankfully, in markets we weren't sold in, so it wasn't. Hopefully, everyone forgot it now. But they were really cool. But then they're like, you get to tell a story. So then that's when we were able to redo it, go after it, and everyone got fixed. But I was like, oh shit, that was scary.
Shows how powerful the media is and how people don't treat it right. Like they do it for a click instead of a story.
For a click.
That's why I love.
Dude, there was legitimate and if you read some of the pieces that we listed on our website, it states it right.
Yeah.
There was as simple of headlines: been fired, get a free bottle of tequila,
just to get a click.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the whole damn country's like, hey, that's me.
Right.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
That is just nuts. But yeah, the tequila fairies.
But if they watched the video, then they saw the story. Bryce, they did a great
and then they
piece.
move on with their day with a feel good story. If they were any other industry, they'd be like, oh, that's cool. That's good. Good people. So I want to hear more about when we're on the topic of stories. So the team over at First Form, you guys. So how did that come about? You guys went there just for advice, or like tell us a little bit about
Summer Smash is their big annual event.
Yeah.
2017, when I was trying to figure out whether I was going to purchase this brand, and I say that, I hate the way that it sounds because I had no idea how to raise capital.
Yeah.
It's just the only way I know how to explain it.
Right, I wanted to buy it. You're like, I like the company. I want to work there.
That sounds douchey as hell. So I
just wanted to figure out how to acquire the funding for, you're
exactly.
like, fuck the first.
I had no idea. I was just trying to get equity.
Yeah. Yeah. You just wanted some invested.
I wanted some invested, and I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
So that was Summer Smash 2017. I actually had a pop-up tent with that brand there, which is crazy to think a year later I had Una Vida with those guys. So that was the first time I met Andy. He tried the añejo of that brand, fell in love with it, started asking some questions. I was like, oh, I had these artwork, all this cool stuff, because I was a big fan of the MFCEO project, his original podcast. And I shit you not, I don't know, it was weird. I had a feeling he knew business, but obviously he does. So we would drive in from Denver just to sit in the old HQ waiting room, hoping, because I don't think he knows this. He will now if he listens to this. Hopefully we knew that they only had one bathroom in the place, and he had to pass the lobby to go to the bathroom. So we would be sitting in the little lounge area, and he'd walk by, and it'd be like, oh, hey, it's the tequila guys that he met at Summer Smash. Hey, man, I got a question for you. And he'd sit down and talk to us, maybe 10 minutes at a time. There were times it was 2 hours at a time. Yeah. And go about his day. Okay, all right, we got this. And then we drive back to Denver.
Really?
Yeah.
Just for, like, advice.
Yeah. So Bryce and I have a company called 850 Miles. And people are like, what is that? I was like, that's the distance from Denver to St. Louis. Because that's how we started. It was just like, fuck it. We're going to drive, sit down, pick somebody's brain that we think
knows his shit.
Yeah. Obviously he does.
Right. And the fact that he's open to sharing it, that's what's so special.
It's tough now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. This was he's grown.
Yeah,
you guys have grown in 5 years, but that dude has grown a lot in 5 years. His personal brand, at least, where people actually want to like seek him out. Like now he has security and all this shit. Like you probably couldn't. Like if I went to go do that,
you couldn't pull off what I did.
You couldn't find him. No. Yeah.
So we did that, and then finally, we were getting along far enough in branding. I guessed his email. I'm not going to say it because it probably still is. I guessed his email just because I had everyone else's
just tried
email.
A couple. Yeah.
Yes, I guessed his email.
Hotmail.com.
And I said, hey, thank you for all the conversations in your lobby. I want to give you 10% in this company. And I was business is so funny because I was like, oh, maybe he'll take a seat on the board of directors. Like we have a fucking board of directors.
Right. We're going to if he wants to.
Yeah. And so I said,
shooting your shot.
Yeah, absolutely. It was like 10% equity and I was like, oh, here we go.
Send.
And come to find out, he never checks his email, but for some reason did that and shot me his number and said, start a group chat with me, you, Bryce. So started a group chat.
Done.
He's like, hey, let's start bouncing some ideas off each other. Started doing that. One thing, we're coming up with the name, we're coming up with the image, and we're doing that. Meanwhile, my credit card's running out. So I've got to find investors. Because now at this point, I found out I can't put any goods on a credit card to get it up here to start selling and bringing in revenue. So we're meeting with investors out in Denver. We're bringing in all this stuff, and we were on our way to one trip back to St. Louis. He straight up looks at us. I was a big fan of the podcast. I knew to never ask him for money. He doesn't invest.
Right.
So that's why instead of investing, I wanted to give him equity because I saw the value he brings, knowledge and everything like that.
Absolutely.
One day he looks at us, he goes, how the fuck are you guys going to finance this? I was like, oh, we have a meeting with some investors. And he looks at me. He goes, yeah, I did.
Okay.
Because I was getting desperate. I'm running out of fucking money. My rent's due. I'm in deep shit.
Right.
And he goes, investors? He goes, why the fuck didn't you ask me to invest? And I'm like,
you don't roll that way.
You don't roll that way. And he goes, okay, that's fair. He's like, I want you to cancel the meeting with your investors, potential investors, and be here tomorrow at 4:30. And I was like, oh man, I'm supposed to be back in Denver. These guys, this is like our third, fourth, fifth meeting. Like
you were close.
We were close. Yeah. And it was a lot of money.
Yeah.
And then like pitch decks, all this shit. And I said, okay.
Well, yeah, you trusted
him. And I came
yeah.
back, and he was like, okay. And that's when I got to meet Chris Klein for the first time.
Yep.
He's like, it'll be me, him, and we actually want to be your investment group. He's like, I'll be honest with you, we've never invested anything outside of our core businesses. But the fact that you've been here and done this, like, we're going to do this.
Saw something, you guys.
Yeah.
And the fact that's an amazing story. We got to cut that clip for sure. That's a dope story. And I've heard it before, like you guys have talked about it, but like the fact that you drove just to go to his place is crazy because most people would send a DM or they would and they would just never get a response.
Oh, that can get rejected.
And it's not genuine. But the fact that you invested so much time and energy, and it's so cool that he
you want to know the trick was too? is why I also got very accepted was every time I came in, I had a case of tequila on me.
Oh, absolutely.
So all the front desk people, I'm handing out bottles.
So they didn't care that you were sitting there.
I could sit there as long as I wanted.
Back at it.
Yeah. That's amazing. So what type of value has that crew added? I mean, they're just so business savvy and
it's ridiculous.
And just
Andy
being in that
Chris Klein's a mentor. I mean, those guys are incredible.
Now you're on like PJs and stuff with those guys.
I'm not paying for it. I just get to hang out.
I know. I'm like, man, Una Vida.
I feel douchey posting it, but I'm like, man, I got a little people.
You have to post it, bro.
Yeah.
What do you mean? If you're on a PJ going to a Chiefs game, you have to post it. But then I'm like zooming in. I'm like, who's he with? I'm like, Una Vida's really out here blowing up.
It's not my money, for the record.
No, it's cool, dude.
No, but really those guys, and they're some of the most down to earth dudes. Generous dudes as well, as far as giving back and what they do. Like,
does that rub off on you guys? Like, where's your charity work that you guys? Because you do a lot of charity work with Stray Rescue and a bunch of other stuff too. Yeah,
Stray Rescue. Yeah. I'm such a dog lover, but it's a core principle, man. You just gotta be good to people. Like, you see so many, buy my course for $9. Like, you're just taking advantage of people, and that's a lot of people sacrifice character for a quick buck. Where I rather. A lot of people, especially in this booze industry, man, they just want to create a brand to sell it to Diageo or sell it to Constellations. Like, I want to build one of those. Right. I don't want to buy brands. I'm not going to sell brands. I want to build brands. Yeah. So a lot of people don't know that. Like, 80% of what you see on a back bar are owned by 5 companies. Yeah. Diageo owns Johnny Walker. Yep. They own Don Julio. They just bought Casamigos. They own Crown Royal. They own, like, all these companies. 5 companies own 80% of those brands.
The commercial we just watched, and you're like, why is there 4 different companies? It was like Fireball, Jim Beam. It was a cool commercial, but then she was confused.
Sazerac owns.
I said they just like.
She's like, I was confused.
They didn't even sell like 6 different things.
But no one knows those companies because they build the brand individually. Yeah. You just know Fireball. You don't know Sazerac owns Fireball, Willet, Buffalo
Don't they just
Trace.
throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks? Yes. So like new ones, like High Noon popped off, but like that was just one of their brands that they threw at the wall.
No, I think High Noon's independent. I think
they might have
maybe.
Yeah.
But that's where, like, brands like us, they usually come in and say, hey, we'll give you a check. And if they think there's value in the brand, they'll build it. If not, they just buy it to squash their competition.
And then just have their other ones stick out.
Have their other ones. Yeah. Why do they want Una Vida competing against Casamigos?
And why would they want to build something? That takes so much time.
Right. They've got the money they've already, so they buy the brands and see the value in it, or they get rid of it.
So you have no interest in buying any other brand?
No, I want to build them.
Okay.
No interest in selling either.
Really?
No, fuck no.
We'll see about that. No, I'm just kidding. Sometimes a check comes around your way, a life-changing check.
But what would I do?
I don't know, because then you'd have to sign a non-compete, and you wouldn't be able to do what you know.
What would I do?
Yeah, maybe you'd work for them, but then they would change shit, and it would probably be. But you're right. But like there would be like if a check came along.
Because I'm a very creative person as well, and I love brand building. I love that aspect.
Yeah, I love that too.
That outside of, and I'm sure Kevin feels this way. Yeah. Why did he get into spirits? Maybe he felt like he ran his course in beer. Maybe I feel like I'm running my course in tequila. Yeah, maybe I want to dabble in some other spirits. Build the brand, learn and create, build a new name.
Each time it'll be quicker too.
Yes. Absolutely.
Is that like, so you have Una Vida, but then you have El Trago here.
Yes.
So that was just another brand. And you guys did some canned cocktails, but that was a collab, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Cocktails. So Una Vida is our core. We've got the Blanco, the Reposado, and the Añejo. And then El Trago, which means the drink. We just saw holes in the tequila market. So with agave pricing skyrocketing, there was no rail 100% agave tequila. So we wanted to create one. That wasn't affordable. A lot of people don't know this, and we'll get into some tequila stuff, is there's 2 different types of tequila. There's a 100% agave, and then there's what is called a mixto, M-I-X-T-O. By Mexican law, mixto only has to be made with 51% agave, 49% sugar, water, neutral grain spirit, vodka, caramel coloring, and additives.
So that's the difference between silver and gold.
Yes. You see gold on the bottle, it is food coloring. Okay. We have to get our color from being in a barrel naturally. Uh-huh. So that's where...
That's why it tastes like ass when you get a rail shot of tequila.
Yes,
and you're like,
and that's the huge thing. That's such an uphill... Because those companies, Doce Huervo, have made billions of dollars.
Oh, yeah. They crush it.
To make sure people don't know the difference.
Yeah.
Now they have a 100% agave line that is great and phenomenal. They know how to make great tequila, but it's just.
But they're filling a market because there's a market for cheap stuff.
Yes. Yeah. And so we are very anti-mixed
for a shelf, like for.
Now that's our high end. That's
okay,
not the cheap one.
I was gonna say the rail. I was like, this comes in a bottle like this.
That's not.
That's what I was about to say. I was like, bro, that bottle looks insane.
No, that's not our rail one.
Yeah.
But we saw a hole there. Like we need 100% agave because 100, rail whiskey. Well, vodka is still 100% vodka and whiskey. Well, tequila isn't most of the time. So is it more expensive than Pepe Lopez? Yeah. But you want to talk about a jump in quality that you're offering your customers as well. So we saw that. So we created the Blanco. And then with the explosion, which it's the rail tequila at all the Cybergs. It's the rail tequila at Ballpark Village. It's the rail tequila at Billy G's. It's the rail tequila. I mean,
places that do numbers.
Yes. Yeah. Because they're selling quality too, not just cheap.
Right. And they're still cost too.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And then with the extra añejo, with the explosion of like Don Julio 1942, Clase Azul, we wanted to come out with an extra añejo at a much affordable price point. Now, that's relative to who you're talking to.
Right.
You'll see 1942 on the shelf for $180, $200. We're at $109.
Okay.
Don Julio 1942 is only an añejo, which means it's only aged for probably a year to 18 months. We're an extra añejo, so we're $100 cheaper a bottle, and we're aged 3 times longer.
Okay.
Because we're 3.5 years.
So is that your go-to then?
Yeah.
You're drinking?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, both of these. That's why I bought both of them.
Okay.
I'm a sucker for a good reposado and then extra añejo for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. And I love the tastings that you all do because you're able to educate us and like show us the difference. Because like Blanco,
tequila's such a bad name.
Yeah.
Because people are used to the shit. And they're
they're used to the bad nights. It's like Fireball. Like everybody has a bad story with Fireball.
I don't.
I do. Never touched it again. Ever.
I drank too much 100 proof hot damn in high school to even make it to Fireball. So I got my cinnamon whiskey done early.
Like one fun time, and I'm like, never again.
And that's a huge point about is the education, right? Whiskey and bourbon have taught people how to sip. You can sip tequila if it's good, right? And those tastings show people like, oh, I don't know how many times, and I still do all our own tastings, is, I haven't had tequila since college. My exact rebuttal is, this isn't the shit you had in college. Absolutely. It is completely changed. And then they taste it like, oh, wow. Yeah. Okay, there's a big difference.
And it's an exploding market too.
I think the first tastings of all of them at our first bucket list party, I think.
Yeah, Bryce was there. That's when I met Bryce because he was there. He came and worked at the first party, and then you guys.
Oh yeah, it was at Shark Bar.
Yeah, it was at Shark Bar.
Town.
And then you came to the second one
past year on the.
So we'll get it back on a third one, but we need to like off camera and stuff. Like we can work on some activations though, of like some events that we're going to be working on and stuff like that. But
especially if you need help with any restaurant groups or stuff like that, I can help.
Yeah, we work with a lot of restaurant groups and stuff too. So let me got a couple more questions. One more is, and I know this is a tough question, but I'm sure you guys talk about this a lot. But like, what is a long-term vision for your brands? We kind of got into it just a second ago, but like, in an ideal world, like, what are you looking at 5-10? Like, what's the long-term vision?
So that was it. I want to build a Diageo.
Okay.
But what Diageo does is they buy brands like us, and then they put it in their portfolio.
Okay.
I want to build those brands.
Is there a competitor that does that just continually builds?
I would say I wouldn't call Four Hands a competitor, but I mean Kevin builds his own.
They build
brands.
them all. Yeah.
He builds it, right? He's in gin. He's in vodka. He's building those.
THC.
THC. Yeah, absolutely.
CBD. The CBD seltzers were great.
Yep. So that's what I want to. I want to come out with vodka. I want to come out with a gin. I want to come out with a whiskey, bourbon.
Canned cocktails.
But mezcal first.
Mezcal's still agave. So we'll do that. But and just create brands and build them out.
Yeah, that would be good. The canned cocktail that you guys did was really good. The can was amazing. Is that Boulevard beer?
Yeah, it's still out.
Is it?
Paloma, the Paloma and Margarita.
And it got you kind of lit. I drank 2 of those, and I was
they're 9% alcohol. They'll get you going.
Yeah, they're strong, and they're really good. And I just love. I'm a big thing, like you said, for branding. Yeah. Like when you're looking at this at the store, it just looks so good. Yeah. And like it's just.
I'll tell you what, it took us a couple times. Like if you look at some of the old images of our añejo bottle, it was a bright yellow when we wanted gold, but it was a language thing, so we couldn't get hot stamping on our label.
Yeah.
Until I would say it was 2020 or 2021, like we finally got our añejo label that we wanted it. Even the hot stamping on this is very recent. It used to just be orange. Okay. But now we've got the hot stamping, the perforated edges, like all that shit. And a lot of people don't see it, but like the perforated edges, we were tired of it just ripping, and then you'd have flakes in the bottle. So like, oh, we need to get these perforated.
Every little detail.
Yeah.
And just the money, like the brand and money.
But it took over time. Just like I did a post the other day on the core values, right? I was upset that we didn't have core values or a mission statement year one. We didn't know what we were doing. We didn't know who we were.
Yeah.
Like,
you probably didn't take yourself seriously.
No,
enough.
and you can't. Yeah. How do you know what you stand for if you haven't been through the shit?
Yeah.
So like this last year, I was like, we'd revisit them every year. Bryce and I do a little annual thing where we go have a steak somewhere and really just hammer down. And year after year, we would be adding. And this year, we're like, I think we got it. We know what we stand for as a brand. We know what we want. This is who we are and this is what we stand for. But we didn't learn those lessons without going through it. Yeah. So, and that's where it's like, if you're a small business owner, if you're coming out of the gates and don't have a mission statement or a core value, that's okay.
Yeah.
Or even like a long-term business plan. A lot of the things that people like trip about is like, just do it. And once you do it, then you figure it out as you go.
Start with something.
And then now every time we drop something, it's way more calculated and everything has better, like it's just an easier rollout. And that's for you. It's like each time you do something, you're better and better at it.
I think too many people get into business with an exit strategy.
Yeah. That's
like, imagine starting with already having an exit plan. Yeah. You're not going to get fucking far.
Because you're not motivated. You'll quit the second adversity comes.
Right.
Yeah. That's true. I didn't think, because I don't have it's nice to know that you're building something because I don't know what the value of what I have is or what you have yet. Like until somebody tells you, you're like, wow, I've actually been building something. Because a lot of times we're not taking money out of it. So it's like we might get a little shit check when we need money.
Well, and that's exactly where I'm like, okay, if Diageo came to me with $100 million, now granted, I haven't had that, and that'd
be hard to say no to.
That would be hard to say no to, but it would also be reaffirming that I'm on the right
path.
Building
something, yeah.
What if in 5 years it was $1 billion check? Yeah. I mean, Casamigos sold for $1 billion in 4 years. Yeah. Patron sold for $5 billion to Bacardi. Mm-hmm. Like, what's $100 million if in 5 years it can? Well,
that's just more confidence for you.
Absolutely.
You're like, okay, I'm doing it right.
I'm doing it right.
Yeah, I'm good. They'll be there. They'll be there when everything happens. So. No, I appreciate you coming on. I have one last question. Yeah. It is the STL Bucket List Show, so we'd love to ask everybody a few of their bucket list spots. So let's say, bucket list could be anything.
These
like
are my customers, so you're putting me on a spot.
that is true. And you can show bias. 100%.
If all your bartender friends are off for the night,
where are you guys going? Like, what are a few spots that you would go? Or if somebody comes in town, like, where are you guys going? Like,
good
what's a couple
friend
hot
from
spots?
Denver, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, Twisted Tree Steakhouse, I think, is probably the best steakhouse in town.
That's where all your core values were built, right?
Absolutely. Exactly. I love that for a great dinner. I love Spruce Street. I'm a sucker for bombs and just ripping shots. Ballpark Village, you can't go wrong. Right. I mean, it just depends on what kind of mood you're in.
Right. Totally.
Billy G's, I think, has one of the best patios. McGurk's has a great patio.
Great food too.
Duke's is a great blues bar.
Yeah.
Trying to make sure I name everybody.
Yeah, you're like, hold on, let me pull up. I'm sure you have an app. You're like, hold on. I'd like to thank all the way down. But no, there's a ton of good spots, and like I'm glad that you guys are shedding light to St. Louis and like highlighting these bars on a different level because it gets people excited. It's like these people already have a hard ass job anyways, and to shed light on them and like help them out.
How much of a bar is the bartender's personality?
100%, it's everything. Yep. It's everything.
I mean, personality, right? Like that's Andy Printy, who's one of my great friends, and like if he's the bartender, I'm gonna go.
That's the first time we chatted on Instagram is when you set me up with the Silent Kitchen.
Yeah.
I messaged you and I was like, I was from the STL Bucket List. You probably had no idea who you were. I was like, yo, what's the word? Yeah. You gave me the address. I went there. It was the Silent Kitchen.
Yeah.
At the
before Christmas or something.
Yeah, it was right around then. It was in the back. It was in the back. Chow Bon.
And
it was sketchy because it was like nobody was out on the streets.
It wasn't sketchy.
It was 11 o'clock.
Secret kitchen.
It was 11 at night.
And that was the hashtag you used when you posted.
We drove there at 11 at night, and I'm like, this is the only time I've ever driven in St. Louis when it's 11 at night and nothing's happening.
And that was the first reson was at 11 o'clock.
Yeah, it was bad.
And he'd have a new bartender.
Yeah, and they were repping your guys' stuff.
It was COVID too, so you weren't even allowed to do it. Like, it was a real speakeasy vibe. Like,
that's why
kicking the door.
For real.
That's why I went. Because I was like, I want to tell my future kids one day that I actually went to a speakeasy when the world was shut down. Like, how cool is that going to be?
Absolutely.
We went to a speakeasy. Like, our grandparents probably went to speakeasies at one point, and they're not our grandparents' whatever. But no, that's cool, man. And if you want to just drop some tags on where people can find you, where they can support, like Instagrams or anything like that.
I mean, Una Vida Tequila on Instagram, unavitatequila.com. El Trago 1873 for that page. I mean, really, that's about all the
Any events coming up? You guys got anything big coming up?
Mardi Gras is huge. Okay. Title sponsor at Ballpark Village.
Oh, shit.
Okay.
So that'll be huge. We'll have a bunch of drink features and stuff like that.
When is Mardi Gras? What are the dates?
February 18th.
Okay.
It's early this year.
I was going to say it is early.
Very early. Then.
That's probably the next big one.
Okay. Cool. Well, we'll be there. So appreciate you coming on, guys. Thank you
guys
so much.
Yeah, thanks. This is awesome.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the STL Bucket List Show. You can catch this episode out on any platform. And Half Coast Studios, thank you for cutting up a great episode. And shout out to our friends at the Regional Arts Commission of St. Louis. If you support art, you support St. Louis.
That's right.
So, all right. See you guys next week.
Today they rep St. Louis, yeah. They rep St. Louis. They rep St. Louis.